ideal situation as a parent is to create something that you can pass down to your children, whether it is a business or it is a home.
Fear is a taught emotion. It's not a learned emotion. That's not a natural thing. Parents, accidentally, we teach our kids to be afraid of everything. You need to make certain that they understand that although I'm your parent, I think you are just as smart as anybody else that's sitting in front of you. Anybody can sell things. You can sell this microphone, you can sell this couch, you can sell things. But in order to sell real estate, you first have to make certain that you can provide an educative approach of why they should sell the real estate or why they should invest in real estate. And first and foremost, why they should even use you.
Some families pass down heirlooms, others pass down blueprints. In the heart of Miami's luxury real estate world, one name stands above the skyline twice. Giovanna Fernandez has spent the 2 decades mastering the Miami's real estate world, from Coral Gables to Key Biscayne, from Coconut Grove to Brickell. And her reputation has been earned one client, one closing, and one late negotiation at a time. And today, you're not building it alone. Your daughter, Giovy, has joined the business, but not just joined it. I think elevated it. And together, you are the top 1% production in the city. So I want this episode to not be only about real estate, but really what it takes to get there, what it's like to work mother and daughter. And I think that it's such an honor and such a pleasure to have you here. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
We're excited.
So let's start there. The first question is, what does it take to be the 1%er?
I think communication and always doing your best to be consistent with expectations. I think people get into real estate for different reasons. Some people just get their license to kind of do their own thing. Maybe they want to do their own investments. Maybe they want to sell their parents' house. But then there are the people that get into it as a career and actually do it full time. And so there's a big distinction between the two of us. And sometimes that's where the waters get muddy, mainly because you have people that will come into the business and then their lack of communication, lack of effort, lack of professionalism kind of gets it a little bit tainted for us, where we are in it to do it 100%. I think you need to come into this understanding that it does take a big commitment and you have to be consistent. So I would say consistency, communication, and just always trying to achieve or exceed that expectation of what the customer wants.
What part of the grind do most people miss?
You mean in today's market?
Yes.
I think in today's market, I can speak for myself and a lot of what we call the old timers. We miss the connection. I remember when we used to get offers for our listings, or I was representing a buyer and needed to present that offer, we would actually do it at the kitchen table of the seller. And it would be myself, my client, the cooperating broker and their client. And many times we were presenting offers that way, right at the table. It was an amazing communication. And I think that what has happened now with technology, which is supposed to bring us closer together in the sense of communication, it lacks that human connection. And I feel that that opened up a lot more ease for communication, for negotiations.
Absolutely.
So that's the part I miss.
Now you don't talk to your seller. You don't know, I don't even know sometimes the other side's broker.
Yeah.
Like you don't meet them, you don't talk to them. And it's made the industry a lot harsher, a lot colder, more difficult. And going back to what it takes to be 1%, you mentioned there's a lot of people who do it perhaps as a hobby, or they want to try at it because they think that Miami real estate sells by itself. But you know that it's not that way. Tell us a story or perhaps a moment when things got rough, and what changes did you do to overcome that?
That's a great question. I could probably pick several to use. I guess one that does come to mind is there was a gentleman from Canada has several properties as an investor here. And we actually were representing the tenant in this situation. It was a rental. And this is when I always say, don't ever say just. It's never just. And this proves that point. So a renter, we were representing the tenant. And throughout the process, the agent was completely incommunicative. Didn't show up for the showing, essentially hid the key in the stairwell for us to go show this condominium to the tenant, never showed up, was very unresponsive, in so much so that we bumped into the landlord's handyman, fortunately, to get a hold directly to make this offer to the landlord. Long and short of it is, we closed the transaction, finally had the opportunity to speak to the cooperating broker, only for a day later, the gentleman that owns this property communicated with us directly. And he said that he had never met as professional an agent as us. And I say us because he was also working with one of my teammates. And essentially, we now manage over 10 of his units. So that's a fast forward. And that's the way we turned that around was, regardless of what was happening in the moment, our client wanted that unit. So we were going to do whatever we needed to do to get it to her. And that client also ended up buying something from us a couple of years later. So we not only got a client that now looks to us every single year to turn these units around, but also had another transaction out of it.
And this is a good moment to tell everyone listening that I work with you. And something that struck me from the beginning is the professionalism, but more than that is how above and beyond you go, how much care you put into your business, how professional every communication is. And with my wife, we thought you were mind readers at one point, because we're like, well, what's going on? And boom, a message. We were like, wow, it's like do they have a camera? Are they connected
That's the
with
other
us?
secret, yes. We install cameras. We give you guys a little chip to swallow, and then we follow you around.
That's why you ask us for coffee.
Yes, that's it. That's exactly it.
And that's really impressive, because when people say Miami real estate sells itself, it doesn't. And to be number one, you have to go above and beyond. And that's a big lesson.
You do, and you can't hide from the customer. One of the things that we do is, when we're working with a customer, every single week we give them an update, whether it's good, bad. Even if there's nothing to say, we didn't get any showing requests, we didn't get any increase, whatever it is, there's always a consistent update.
And we felt it. And that was a big game changer. You started in 97.
Mm-hmm.
Take us back to that time. What was that force inside you, that drive that was like, I'm going to make it?
So I always came from, my upbringing was that of necessity for work, helping my family. We were going through some very big personal challenges. And I actually I went into executive recruiting. And that actually happened accidentally. There was a receptionist job open. I was 19. I took the job. Ultimately, fast forward 2 years later, and I was managing the company. And so I always had I don't care how old I am. That doesn't matter. I was managing people that were 3 and 4 times my age at the time, that had been in the business for many, many years. And it was an executive search firm that specialized in the international trade and transportation industry. So we were placing people with freight forwarding companies, with import-export companies. And for me, it was just always about, keep me busy. And when there was nothing to do, I was always asking, what else can I do? What else can I do? What else can I do? In so much so that it annoyed some of the other people that we call the cul-de-sac employees, that sat there, showed up every day at 9 o'clock, did their thing. That was just never me. So I always had an earning and a yearning to continue that learning process. I always came from curiosity, as we were talking about earlier. And I think that that's a good place to be. So from that, I never had any type of inhibition of saying, yeah, but I'm only 19. Yeah, but I'm only 21. That was never something in me. And what pushed me into real estate was actually love. I met my husband in 1996, and he was already in real estate. I thought for a lot longer. Maybe he tricked me that he was a little bit longer, and ultimately found out he had been doing it for about a year. And he told me, listen, he says, you'd make a great realtor. And so I took the leap of faith, and we went from me never having my real estate license to opening up a company. So we opened up our own brokerage. What I knew is I knew I was a great salesperson, and I knew that I was a very good recruiter. So I said, okay, so let me just create the systems. Let me do the recruiting. And we started out in a 460 square foot office, much smaller than this. And I recruited about 22 agents in the first couple of months from that, convincing them that we were the place to be. And then it was kind of like history from there. What I had said to myself is I said, okay, if I can at least make as much as I was making the last year that I was the manager at this recruiting company, I know that this is the business for me. So a lot of realtors, a lot of rentals, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of early mornings and late nights. And I did exactly make what I was making that last year. And so from there, I said, okay, I can do this. It's rough, but I can do it.
I have no doubt. I can feel your energy. I can feel how much, even at 19, you were so determined and you got it done.
Mm-hmm.
Let's fast forward a little. Now you have daughters.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how did you bring them into the industry? Or were you like, okay, I have my own brokerage? What was that like? What was going through your mind? Did you want them to come into the industry? Did you not? How was that?
It's funny because I never really was adverse to it, but I never thought about it. I just said I always wanted to encourage my children to do whatever sparked them, whatever really excited them. And I told them, I said, listen, life is hard enough. Don't do something that's not going to really excite you every single day. And the good thing is that, you can always change your mind. You can start out with something, change your mind. You can change your mind all the way until the day you die. So we're not trees. We can move around. We can do things that are different. We can change our course. So for me, Giovy was actually at her first closing when I was 9 months pregnant to her. 2 days later, I gave birth to her. So she's been going to open houses with me since in the womb. And then even afterwards, when I started working again, I would put her in the little sacks that you wear the baby in the front. And she would come to me. Open houses were a fun thing for my daughters to visit with me on the weekend because it was my job to know the market. So I made it an adventure for them. And for me, I was just checking on the market. So my kids came along to a lot of those. Ultimately, I also really love to cook. I went to culinary school. So my other daughter had a love for cooking. So she actually is a chef in a Michelin star restaurant now. And Giovy actually was always interested. She always loved real estate. She always loved, the excitement of the city and growing it. And she always had a love for it. Also, she is just an amazing connector. That is something that she's always had. So when she came to us after she graduated at FIU that she was considering coming on board, I said, listen, just try it out. Try it out. If it works, great. If not, if you hate it, bye-bye. Her first year, she had an amazing year. She met some clients that she connected with, and we were just all, honestly, she was the top agent in my team that year. And when I say that, I was rough on her because I knew that I had to be cautious because I have other team members that are not my daughters. And so I almost even held back a little, not teaching her, but kind of like making certain like where leads went and where business was sent to. She did it on her own that first year, and she did just an amazing job. She made me very, very proud. And I'm still proud of her, of course. Mm-hmm.
Let's go to you, Giovy, with that segue. Was real estate always the plan for you? Or was there a moment that you were like, I love it. This is what I want to go?
Real estate was not always the plan for me, but I think it found me and I found it. I originally was studying pre-medicine at FIU because I've always been a curious person, kind of similar to what you said earlier. And I've always prioritized making connections with people. So naturally, I thought, let me help people in medicine. Let me learn every single day in a field like medicine. And being someone born and raised in Miami and seeing the absolute almost overnight change that it's had, especially since COVID, I couldn't help but find this newfound love and respect and excitement for development and for the immense people coming down here and loving making connections with people and loving my city. Real estate felt very organic to me. And of course, being someone that has always been very close to my family, I've always been that girl that if I have to hang out either with my friends or my family, I'm going to hang out with my family. That's just
We're besties.
we're my mom and I are besties, like literal best friends. So it was really easy to fathom working with her and spending days on the road with her and then meeting people every single day. And the people that you meet in this field, you learn so much from them. And hearing their stories, it makes you so inclined to really want to put your best foot forward and find what they're looking for or get their property moved, whatever it may be.
I definitely connect with and appreciate when you said you love your city. Miami can be anything you want it to be.
Exactly.
If
Yeah.
you want it to be a party city, it's a party city. If you want it to be a work city, it's a work city. And it's grown so much, but it definitely has so many transplants and so many people that have come here that hearing, and sometimes locals will say, the transplants are the problem because now we have all this like traffic or whatever. But just the fact that you wanted to connect with that love for the city, I can genuinely feel it. What did you absorb from your mom growing up? What did you think that you were like, wow, this is different than others, and that you apply to your job today?
I think the first thing that comes to mind is definitely growing up, my mom always made me feel exceptionally special and loved because of the love that she had to give. And then I realized that all of her clients felt the exact same way. And it made me realize, wow, my mom has this amazing gift of making people feel very heard, very seen. And that is what I feel has contributed to her success because I fundamentally believe that business in general is about establishing relationships, and that long-term relationship will continue to, I guess you could say, propel your business forward, and you guys can give and take from one another. And that's something that the kindness and the tenacity that my mom has always had in putting effort into people's relationships with her, I think that's what's contributed to her success. And that's something that I've absorbed for sure, is to make people feel special.
It was
She's
beautiful.
gonna make me cry.
Was there a time that it wasn't all, la vie en rose? Like, was there a time when you doubted yourself, that you said,
Yes, definitely.
I need to redefine my terms?
Definitely. Funny enough, I think we last year had a couple of crazy adventures in real estate that we were running like chickens with our head cut off. And I'm someone that's always been a high achiever. And especially when I have my mom to live up to, I can be very critical of myself. I just always want to make sure that I'm truly giving it my all in every situation. And last year, most definitely, there was a lead that we had that I had cultivated. And so many times we got so close to the finish line. And the thing with real estate is that the deal is not done until it is done, until you're closed. So the file is sealed. And last year, this one particular transaction, it was a very harsh reminder that you can get so close. The client can say, I want this property. I'm ready to put money in escrow. And even through all of that, if it's not closed, it's not closed, it's not done. And you realize that you can't help but think, I've invested so much time. I've invested these months into this. Was I allocating my time and my resources the right way? Was I distracting from other potential opportunities in my field? And you can't help but have those thoughts. And it's just really important to give yourself credit where credit's due and know that you put your best foot forward in the situation. You can't control every outcome. You can only control the energy that you put into it.
Yeah.
And
Segueing off of that,
go ahead.
I think that all of the team, I have a few other team members that work for us, and we all go through that. We all go through that point where, boy, it's just been rough. what is going on out there? I mean, we've had these conversations. It's like, it's so strange. And I think at least once a year, anyone that's been in the business long enough will ask, gosh, what am I doing in this business? Because we don't, like she said, you don't get paid until the deal's done. So we put a lot of effort, a lot of work, a lot of money, a lot of time into these things. And because it's intangible, what people don't see is the time. That's time away from my family. That's time away from a party I was supposed to be at with my family. That's time away from spending time for me. But they don't see that on the other end. And I think that there's like, that's where the meeting happens, and any agent that is in the business will question themselves. And side note, she's an overachiever, so she's very tough on herself. But yeah, so I think we all question it every now and then.
And you preemptively answered, because my question was, how did you coach her through that?
Yeah.
How did you, because you've been through 08, you've been through other type of crisis.
Yes.
That experience can help the inexperienced, the coming uppers, the people that are motivated, but sometimes you're like imposter syndrome, or
Yes.
Miami has 400 realtors per block.
Yeah.
It's
There's over
everywhere you
65,000
meet.
realtors on the board of Miami.
65,000. That's the actual number. I exaggerated, but it wasn't.
No, it's close.
How do you coach someone through that?
That's a very good question, and I think it depends on the scenario, but overall, the approach is, our business is such that you can be wondering how the day is going to pan out, and then at 12 o'clock, you receive a phone call from someone that wants to see a $10 million property, and that's the exciting part of our business. And I remind them, most people that were just about to hit their success stopped in the 11th hour. They stopped digging an inch before they hit gold, an inch before they hit oil. You've got to go through until you have nothing left. And we always have a little bit left. We just don't dig for it. There's a little bit left every single time. And I think that for me, I use a lot of exactly what you said. Look, I've seen it at the lowest. I've seen when we've had to short sell properties. We were in the business in 2008 and 2009 where the phone stopped ringing in our office, and I looked at my husband and said, "Did you pay the phone bill? Because it's not ringing." Lo and behold, it was the recession. So I say, look, as long as you've got air in your lungs, gas in your car, and the ability to pick up a phone, you can go find the business. Just keep pushing through, and don't expect a lot out of your first year. Just have the expectation that I am attached to the task and not the result. You know what your tasks are. Your tasks every day are to be on the phones, because although we're real estate agents, the properties are just a coincidence to the business. What we actually are prospectors. And the moment you can make that shift and realize, okay, so then I guess really what my job to do every day is to speak to people, not show properties, because I can show properties all day. I'm opening doors. That doesn't mean anything if you don't have somebody behind you coming into the house with you to see it. So if you change that mindset, and that's when that big difference, that shift happens for you. And for them, what I tell them is I say, look, pick up the phone, decide how many people you want to connect with that day, and talk about real estate. And once you've completed that task, you've completed that task, and you're going to start to feel. So you look for other ways to feel complete. You look for other ways to feel accomplished. And if it's, I want to talk to 50 people today. I spoke to 50 people today. You may not have a paycheck, but you did that task. And when you release yourself from being attached to the result, it's a lot easier to feel more empowered, and that you're controlling your day and the day's not controlling you.
That is gold. I think that it's very sound advice for every entrepreneur, because
very much so.
Entrepreneurship is success is not guaranteed. You might try to push a wall all day; it's not going to fall.
Yeah.
You just need to keep looking for ways to be productive. If 50 calls is productive, then that's an accomplishment. You can feel like, oh, I'm moving the needle, and eventually that wall falls. What about the opposite? After you're in the industry so many years, your daughter joins. What has she taught you that you were like surprised or amazed at and that you're still extremely proud of?
She has taught me that she's fearless. And I remember, something that can happen, I guess, to all of us. We get a little bit gun shy for certain things because of experience. So it's kind of like a child. A child will see a cliff and go running towards it. Fear is a taught emotion. It's not a learned emotion. That's not a natural thing. So when we are parents, accidentally, we teach our kids to be afraid of everything. Don't touch that, it's afraid. You even so much so that we hold back what we're gonna let them taste. Oh, those are peas. You're not gonna like those. So I came from the school of thought, and she can attest to this, that I let them try everything. I let them do everything. You want to climb a tree, climb it. You might get hurt coming down. But she taught me that she is fearless, and she came into it. She says, okay, so what am I supposed to do? You're supposed to make calls. Okay, great. What do I have to say? She just jumped into it and made the calls. And I said, what are you going to say? And she's like, I don't know. I'm going to talk to people. She jumped right into that. And that made me so proud, because for the most part, what I get is, oh, I'm afraid. I don't want to, I've mentored several agents through my career and coached several agents through my career. And the calls are the scariest, the cold calls. And I always say, nothing's going to happen. You're going to call somebody. What's the worst? Well, they can yell at me. And then what's going to happen after that? Where those were not questions she asked. She just said, I have to make phone calls. Okay, where are the phone numbers? Who do I call? And let me do it. So I think how fearless and then the other thing is we called her the elevator queen, because this girl can't ride an elevator without meeting somebody and then having a client. She met, I don't even know how many. She's probably closed 3 or 4 at least from
Just
riding an
from
elevator.
riding the elevator, you
She's
meet
fearless.
people and you just start talking with them, because I am genuinely interested in people and getting to know them, making new friends. It's invigorating to me. And it just so happens, oh, you also own a property. I'm a real estate agent. Well, I'd love to help you. And I think coming across genuine and genuinely interested in you as a person and not just your property or your asset, I think that's what's aided in me making connections with people. So
yes, and so that fresh, fearless approach kind of invigorated me again to say, you know what, I'll get on the call. I mean, now most of my business is from referrals, but I'll make some cold calls. Why not? And
yeah, we make cold calls together.
Yeah, we make cold calls together.
Beautiful.
So,
And I got to see it firsthand. Like, now we're at the Move, an amazing place. So I want to give a shout out to them because it's just amazing. Happy to be here. There's huge people that come into here and we cross paths. Both of you introduced yourselves, showed your cards, gave them insight to who you are. I was like, this is so cool. Like, it's so cool to see you in action. I saw you as a client, but then prospecting people and making them know that, hey, you can talk to people and you can just tell them, I can help you somehow, or I can be of service, or I can have a call with you.
Yeah, I'm a real estate agent, not a secret agent, right?
Exactly. Giovy, what do you admire from your mom
Ooh, that's a list.
that she doesn't know?
That she doesn't know?
Ooh.
Well, one thing is that she kind of knows everything that I'm thinking because I don't stop yapping to her. But I would say maybe something that she doesn't know. I admire my mom's ability to be consistently positive in every situation. And I am a positive person, but I think for myself particularly, I can be very hard on myself. However, and I'm also a planner. So I think sometimes my planning can have me always analyzing both best and worst case scenarios in any situation. My mom, however, has this way of bringing the most positive light to any situation. And I admire that so much. And I think that's what's led her to be so successful, because I think you have to go into things thinking, okay, maybe this won't work, but what if it does? And if it does, this could blow up to be something huge. And that I think is something I definitely admire about you. So.
Beautiful. Is there something that you healed together, that you were perhaps growing up, you had a difference, or perhaps you were tough on her, or you rebelled against your mom, but working together brought you and healed that?
Ooh, actually, I thought of this the other day. Okay.
Ooh, okay.
Okay, so probably my mom and I have always had a solid relationship. I think one thing though, obviously growing up, I would come home and maybe I'd have something to complain about. And my mom would say, "You need to change the way you look at things and the things you look at change." And I would say, "Mom, I just want to be mad. I can't do this right now. No, stop. Stop being positive. Like let me just be grumpy."
Mhm.
And I think now being a real estate agent, having to have such a tenacity in entrepreneurship, I think really that is such a mind shift. So now I find myself saying it. I even say it to anyone that will listen. I'll say, "Okay, just change the way you look at things. And the things you look at change." And that was something that she would always say. And I would always be like, "Mom, just stop. Okay, I just want to complain." So yeah, I would say that.
So yeah, that is something that I can definitely jump on her about, that sometimes she'll get in her head about things. Like I said, like a lot of young adults at her age, they have so many things that they compare themselves to. And one thing about her age group, I guess what is
Gen
it?
Z.
Gen Z,
Yeah.
is they have things that they compare themselves to. Like I feel very fortunate that I didn't grow up in the Instagram days and the Instagram world and the social media world, because girls and young men are comparing themselves to people on the sites. And I think all people her age do suffer from that. So they compare themselves to things that they see that are not necessarily real. I say it's just Instagram. It's just Instagram. Don't worry about it. But so yeah, so I get hard on my girls when they start being negative, because I don't think that gets you anywhere. And I say, so you can either think that way or you can think this way. It's really your decide which one's better. It's your decision. Which one's better?
Love it. And definitely starting to peel how you get to the 1%, because this is my task. Like it's been incredible to first time to have in the podcast a mother-daughter team, but aside from that, I want to know how you got to the 1%, because that really shows, and it's starting to show. It's starting to peel away the teamwork, the communication you have with each other, how you can have a positive light over the worst day. All that stuff is what makes it a little bit better. And maybe you're getting to 10%, but now let's go to how do you get from 90 to 99?
Mm-hmm.
So you don't just sell homes, right? You don't,
Right.
like you said, you don't open the door. What are you delivering to your clients really?
We're delivering a consultative approach. So anybody can sell things. You can sell this microphone, you can sell this couch, you can sell things. But in order to sell real estate, you first have to make certain that you can provide an educative approach of why they should sell the real estate, why they should invest in real estate, and first and foremost, why they should even use you. So because like we talked about, there are thousands of realtors out there. So what makes you so special? So for me, I always come from, like I said, I come from curiosity. I first want to learn as much as I can possibly learn about the customer. And it's nothing to do with then you'll manipulate. Like if they like coffee, you like coffee. If they like blue, you like blue. It's not about that. It's about understanding them, because when they talk about what their needs are, then you can almost curate the experience to how they want that experience to be. So for me, I take a very, very serious approach to learn as much as I can, because then from there, it's going to be always a consultative approach. Because at the end, you may not use me to find your home or to sell your home. You may use someone else. Maybe you use your sister or your cousin or your uncle or your neighbor. But in the end, at least now I know that I have educated you about the process. I've educated you about the market. And I've also explained all of the hiccups that you could potentially run into. Anything that you need to know about this process, I know I'm going to tell you. And so for me, that's what's important. It's important that you know that I'm consulting you and I'm not trying to sell you. That's very important to me.
When was this click for you? Was it at the beginning you knew this is how it went? Or as you you gained experience and years went by, you were like, actually, I'm not selling homes.
Yeah.
You're consulting in people's probably biggest decision of their
Yes.
life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Next to choosing a partner, it is. I mean, I feel like I always have, because I was very fortunate enough that when I was an executive recruiter, I had an amazing trainer. And he always, like, everything that he ever taught me, I always remember. And in helping executives find placement for work and helping companies find executives for their positions, I always had to come from a consultative approach. I needed to understand exactly the type of person, not just the skill set, but who they are at their core. It was more character traits. So I had to go beyond, well, tell me about how long you've been in the business. Do you know Microsoft? How many words a minute do you type? It went beyond that. It also had to be, what types of things excite you? Where do you see yourself growing? What do you have to bring to the table in this organization? So you had to go deeper. And so when I ask questions like the typical average realtor might say, well, how many bedrooms and bathrooms do you need in your home? Well, if somebody tells me they need 4 bedrooms, why is that important to you? I want to know that. Why is it important to you? Maybe it's because they need an office. Maybe they can actually do 3 bedrooms, but they just never thought about it in a way that I might approach it. Oh, I want a really big kitchen. Well, to me, a big kitchen is twice the size of this room. It's relative. What's big to you? Tell me about that. Explain what that looks like. So you go deeper. And because I feel like I always had that training from the get-go, I was very fortunate coming in, which I think kind of set me aside above and beyond the normal questions.
Beautiful. And I can definitely tell that. Giovy, do you feel you're a peer to your mom, or do you still feel you're growing up sort of shadowing her? Or when do you think you'll feel like I'm actually a force? We're working together. We're gonna do great things.
I think in my first year, obviously, I very much felt shadowing. This was my year of observation, my year of learning, and there is still so much to learn. Real estate is just that business where you learn something every single day, and you should always be opening to knowing when to speak and when to listen. However, I would say that I really have fallen in love with the force that my mom and I have become working together. And I think that is something that clients appreciate. So I do feel more of a peer now for certain. And I feel like that's just going to grow more and more every day as I become more experienced in the real estate field. And I really do feel like a peer, to be honest. So I would say that she's done a great job in making me feel heard and equally as important in every transaction that we move through.
Amazing. Let's start to give some advice. Like, now that we understand how you got to 1%, there are so many people who have family businesses or are entrepreneurs. What sort of advice would you give them for their kids working together? Or what do you think they should avoid? And also, what should they look for?
I think something to avoid would be to remind them that they don't have as much experience as you. I think that you can create a very toxic environment if, when your child is there looking up to you with their big, doughy, innocent eyes, and they just think the world of you. And then when they come into your business is to say, hang on there, little chap, you don't know anything about this business. I think it's really important to respect them. Even growing up with my children, I never spoke to them like children. I never did goo goo gaga words or anything like that. When they would sit at the table, I would tell them, Giovy, sit properly, please. I spoke to them as if they were 25-year-old adults, because I think that you need to make certain that they understand that although I'm your parent, I think you are just as smart as anybody else that's sitting in front of you. So I think respect, I think opening your ears to what they have to say, because a young person with a fresh perspective is amazing. It's an amazing thing because she has taught me things of looking at something in a different way, or Instagram, marketing, different types of ways to connect with perhaps a younger generation. And you need to always be open to hearing their advice. Let them be heard. If you're in a meeting with your company and it's a mom and pop and your daughter or your son have joined, ask what they think. Get their advice from them. And never, never, never remind them that they don't have as much experience. I just think that that's so important because you could very quickly go toxic.
Middle Eastern parents,
Yeah.
if you're listening,
Oh.
please hear these words. It's
Yeah.
I think that's a secret key.
Yeah.
Definitely a secret key, and something that more parents can benefit from, because I think their parents tend to look at kids like, you're green, I know you from nothing, so you're still inexperienced, but then they don't grow up, or they generate that toxic
For
relationship.
sure. For sure.
What's your point of view?
I think you said something that kind of fascinated me regarding looking at your children as very green. I think also what happens is, I think the ideal situation as a parent is to create something that you can pass down to your children, create some kind of legacy, whether it is a business or it is a home. And I think what happens is you build this business, you're really proud of it, and in the back of your mind, you want it to be something you can hand down to your son or your daughter. And then your son or your daughter join your team. And then there's this, because you're a human being, perhaps you feel like there's this entitlement that they have because they're inheriting something that you had to sacrifice a lot to build. So perhaps maybe there's also a power dynamic, a struggle with letting your children work with you. And that's just because you're a human being and you have sacrificed and you've laid down a lot to make somewhat of an easier transition for your kid. So I think it's just something that you kind of have to come to terms with, and that just comes with maturing. And we're all maturing, whether you're an adult or you're young and in school. I think we're growing every single day, and we're just learning to be better humans every single day.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And I want to highlight that because I think it's very important. No matter where you are in life, you're still learning.
Exactly.
And the like you said, the world is changing and it's fast and it's hard enough. Why would you be set in your ways when you have an advantage, when you have someone internal that wants to teach you
Yeah, and root for you.
what's going?
For sure.
I think the other part that I think is very important to discuss is a trust aspect of your business. And every business has trust, but yours is, as we mentioned before, the most important decision of your life. Who do you trust? So how do you build that trust? How do you come to the table saying, I can give you the right advice?
So I think that one is certainly testimonials from other clients. And I think as realtors, we all have to make sure, and I think in any industry, you need to make certain that you have some cheerleaders out there, some people that are you have great testimonials for. So I always offer my testimonials, but I think also I'm very transparent. I always start off my relationships with my clients saying, I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. I am going to tell you what you need to hear. And that may not be good. I would love to tell you that you can get $10 million for your property, but maybe the market's only saying 2. So I'm going to be very honest with them, very transparent. I even, screenshot messages when I'm speaking with other agents and they're sharing feedback about the property, and send it directly to my customer, because I don't believe in sugarcoating things. I believe in being very transparent, very honest, very, mindful about how trust is built. And trust is built by them feeling you've told them everything. And the other thing is, if you've made a mistake, own up to it. Don't try to cover it. Never blame somebody else. Oh, my secretary must have put that in wrong. No, that was on me. I'm so sorry. And even if it was your secretary that did it wrong, take the blame. Say, I'm so sorry. I will get that fixed right away. You never do that. And I think that builds trust. aside from also knowing numbers, I mean, our business is numbers. You don't just need to know square footage and bedrooms and baths or where Madeira Street is. You need to actually know your numbers. And I am a numbers girl. I believe that you need to know what things are looking like year over year. And when you can speak to those things and you connect with people, they're going to leave that conversation saying, you know what, I feel really good working with this person, because not only did she know the market, but she kind of answered questions even preemptively that I was already thinking.
I can attest.
Yeah.
I can attest. Definitely, you know your numbers. But more than that, it was working with you was, we were at moments we had to make a decision.
Yeah.
And we turned to you and said, what do you think?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's not what we think. We don't know.
Yeah.
We're in another industry. We know other things. So working with high achievers, people that are proven, it really shortcuts the right answer, I guess.
And it's funny that you say that, because when I'm teaching my team, I always say, the moment your client says to you, what do you think I should do? Don't I always say that?
Yeah, we
And
use
I
that
say-
as a teaching moment.
I say that's the moment you know that you've earned their trust. And that is the moment that you have to take the best care of that relationship, because now they really trust you. So there are times that even in our discussion, when you had to make that decision, we talked and I said, she was like, I love them. I want to make certain that we make the right decision. What do you think we should advise them to do? And we talked about it, did a little more research, had a few more conversations, and came back to you to give you that advice.
And the reason I say this is because I hate the saying, you don't need a realtor.
Mm-hmm.
When the market is hot and properties sell themselves and people are like, realtors do nothing, they open the door. I really want to stress how important it is. If you want to be a high achiever, you work with high achievers.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot know everything in life. And even if the market is hot, you might be the one kind of pulling the average down because you don't know what you're doing.
Yes.
So really stress that. I believe when you have that trust with someone and you're able to work with someone that is very experienced, at least you feel that you're going to make the right decisions at the right moment, and then you can just keep growing and keep doing more stuff. So I really value that.
I appreciate that.
What does success mean for you now? Has it changed over the years? What version of success no longer excites you, but now you're like, actually, this is what success is to me?
That's a very good question, because it does evolve. I think when you first get into any business, or the time you first get your very first paycheck, success for you is, oh, I want to have a lot of money in the bank. That's success. And then the next success is, I want to buy a house. And so I think your success evolves. I don't think we ever have that one definition of success. But now, as a 52-year-old woman with daughters that are now in the next phase of their life and, in serious relationships and things like that, for me, success is raising really good kids. Obviously, I also have a wonderful husband and a great relationship with my husband, been working together since 97, married since 99, and I'm very fortunate. But I think that I look at success that whenever my children are in front of other people, it never fails. Those people will tell me, you have done such a good job with your daughters. So that's, for me, my success story. It doesn't matter about the money. It doesn't matter about properties. Invest in real estate anyway. But for me, the success is truly, truly that my daughters have become just amazing people and good people, kind. Kind is like the number one thing. Number one.
You do have amazing daughters.
Thank you.
I know Giovy, and I know your other daughter is cooking because I've been there, and it's incredible. What about for you, Giovy? What does success look like for you?
I think in today's world, I think it's very easy to look at success very superficially. As my mom mentioned, that you could be very easily distracted by money and cars and whatever material vice that may be for you. But I think for me, because of the family unit that I had raised me, success to me looks like being comfortable, very comfortable financially in a way that I can give back to the people that I love, and having a plan that I put the time aside to make happen so that way my husband, my kids can have it better than I did. And I already had it great. So it's a pretty high bar, but just success to me looks like health. It looks like comfort, and it looks like being around the people that you love every day and having the luxury of being very close to your support system. And that to me is what success looks like.
And what do you think you're building together? What's the goal?
I think the goal is to build an extension of the family we currently have. Like I said, I think real estate is all about relationships, and building relationships is about getting to know those people on a deeper level. So I think extending that family that we've put so much work into is that bigger goal. And honestly, I think making people feel seen, feel heard, that's just going to continue to drive our business forward and hopefully create something that I can maybe one day pass down to my kids. So I think that's the goal.
Beautiful. Giovanna, if everything ended up tomorrow, what is the one thing you would be most proud of?
If everything ended tomorrow, the most proud. I think, again, my daughters for certain. The fact that they, you asked a question earlier if they ever did anything rebellious or anything against me. And I have to say, I couldn't tell you not one thing other than little things. Maybe they didn't want to do their homework. Maybe one of them didn't answer the phone when they were supposed to. And so that is such a blessing for me that I never had to have those types of things. And I see some people going through that. So, but I think also I've always told my children, live your life in such a way that if you were not in the room and somebody spoke ill of you, that they wouldn't believe it. And I do my best to do that. Not a perfect person, but I definitely live my life in such a way that I give back when I can. I definitely am as kind to people as I can be. I don't treat people the way they treat me. I treat people the way I want people to see me. And I know that I can die peacefully knowing that I did live my life that way.
That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Giovy and Giovanna, this has been a privilege. Like I said at the beginning,
Thank
I think
you.
your
Thank
story
you.
is incredibly inspiring
Thank you.
for mother-daughter teams out there. You have you're like a beacon. You shine. You look at you. They'll look at you as examples. I definitely took out a lot of nuggets of information of how I'd like to raise my kids too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they're gonna like real estate. Maybe they hate it, but at least I want to teach them to be good people, like you
Mhm.
mentioned, and just have that nice relationship that you have together. So it's a very inspiring. I want to thank you again for coming.
Thank
I think
you.
this was,
Thanks for having
so
us.
much.
This was
was
great.
wonderful.
and I will be sure to put every contact detail underneath because
Thank you.
I can't recommend you enough. I think that if you do have a question, if you want to have a call, you are a pleasure to work with. So for
Thank you
anyone
so
listening,
much.
please just go there and then open the conversation. You'll see that you'll get your dream house bought or sold. You'll get knowledge about the market, and you'll know that you're working with the people that should be beside you. So I want
Thank
to,
you.
Thank you
give
so
Thank you
that.
much.
so much. I
That means
appreciate
so
it.
much.
Of course.